the only show focused on STARS improvement strategies and the leaders who implement them. This is the Rising Stars with Rex Wallace Show, brought to you by Hyperlift.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. Well, welcome back to Rising Stars. I'm your host, Rex. This is your co-host, Mick Toomey. Mick, welcome back.
Thank you, sir. Happy to be here.
And these are our three esteemed guests. Let's go ahead and get right into the conversation today. We have Jennifer Pegram from Blue Cross Blue Shield, Tennessee. We have Brenda Cappellini from the Health Plan, and we have Richard Pridham from Retina Labs. So first off, thank you three for being our guests today. I'm going to just tee up the topic, and then I want you to really quick give a quick introduction of yourself, and then we'll get right into the first question and have a great conversation. But when you think about all that we have going on in our industry today, we're on the verge, on the cusp of the final rule coming out. I mean, we sit here on March 22nd. We expect it to drop around the first week of April, and a lot is expected to be in there from the proposed rule. So things like the improvement measure hold harmless changing, which makes continuous incremental improvement critical, even more critical than it already was. It's really, really important that we continue to find ways to improve in STARS going forward because of that change alone. And then the Health Equity Index reward, replacing the reward factor, that's a huge change on its own that makes us have even a stronger focus on health equity and the importance of it. The member experience weight's changing, which is kind of causing HEDIS to be resurrected as the king of STARS again from a weight standpoint, which a lot of people are happy about. And just lots of changes. And I think the punchline here is that there is a huge need, a really important need for us as quality leaders in Medicare Advantage health plans, especially, to find ways to incrementally improve through things like innovative HEDIS solutions that have a focus on improving the member experience at the same time and improving health equity. So with that, that's the kind of the topic of our conversation today. I know all three of you are heavily involved in efforts around those and somewhat together, right? So let's get into that. Richard, if we can actually start with you. Well, just a quick introduction first of maybe 30 seconds on who you are, who Retina Labs is, what your role is, the role you guys play in the industry.
Yes. Well, thanks, Rex, a great intro. I'm Richard Pridham. I'm president and CEO of Retina Labs. We're a company that focuses on chronic eye disease screening and detection, and we do that in both point of care settings and in-home settings as well, where we provide diabetic eye exams and preventive care screenings for different lab tests.
Thanks, Richard. And Jen.
Hey, Rex, glad to be here. Yeah. So Jen Pegram, a program manager, happy to be serving 147,000 Blue Cross senior care members across this beautiful state of Tennessee. And I've been with Blue Cross for 8 years and have majority of that time been in this role with Med Advantage. So glad to be here, Rex. Thanks for the invite.
So glad you're here. And Brenda, same thing.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Brenda Cappellini, AVP of Population Health at the Health Plan. We are the oldest managed care company in West Virginia. 1979 is when we got first enrolled membership. We now have Medicare Advantage, Medicaid for West Virginia, as well as commercial book of business.
Awesome, thanks. And Jen and Brenda, both nurses, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So great to have you guys on today. And both of your plans work with Retina Labs, right? So I want to get that out there because the importance of our conversation today, I think, leans on these actual case studies that we actually have. This is, we have real examples of ways that you guys have approached some of the things that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So Jen, actually you first, if you can, what problem were you guys trying to solve? What was keeping you up at night when you found Retina Labs, when you found Richard, and kind of how did that come about, the problem you're trying to solve?
Yeah, so great question. I think about this often because it was a pivotal point for us when I met Richard. And so, it is something we had previously done as a health plan, offering an in-home opportunity for our membership, particularly for our diabetics, to have the convenience of this screening. And I'm always thinking of what we can value add, right? And what we can provide for our members beyond just that, high touch, as I call it, element. And something that was interesting in conversation with Richard is they had the high tech side of it. So not only was he able to kind of provide both avenues, I really loved the tools and innovation that he was presenting. So I knew at the time for sure we wanted to continue working with a partner like Retina Labs to be side by side with us when we are engaging with our members and doing everything from meeting them in their home to doing events for that important eye exam. And we also liked that Retina Labs could also do some kits for us in the home as well. So like I said before, us having members in the state, we're a single state plan, and so we've got to touch, all regions of the state and be good in doing that. So that was kind of it was a win-win.
And Brenda, for you, similar, or how does your story differ?
So it differs in the way that I assumed responsibility for HEDIS in 2019. And I'd been with the health plan for years in various roles. But when I assumed the responsibility for HEDIS, that was just always baffling to me that we could not get these eye exams completed. Knowing how important it is, knowing it's preventing blindness and the challenges the population of West Virginia and Ohio face. So did some research and found this wonderful in-home vendor who is ready to take on the challenge of West Virginia and provide those services there. And in addition, as soon it wasn't too far after the COVID pandemic hit, we had the public health emergency and the shutdown. So Retina Labs was ready to roll into the homes and use, the appropriate safety precautions, but not willing to continue. So it was great. Definitely.
And Richard, so in the home is clearly an important place where we all are focusing now, right? Home, care in the home. I mean, when we think about all the insecurities that a lot of our Medicare members have, and if we look at this through a health equity lens, transportation insecurities, financial insecurities. But is that your core model? Like, are you where else are you serving members, or is it just in the home?
Well, we as Jen mentioned, I mean, we're a technology company, and we initially started around teleophthalmology, and we provide an end-to-end platform that is used predominantly in point-of-care settings, such as primary care practices, to enable those care facilities to offer diabetic eye exams as part of a routine care visit. And in 2018, we started getting more and more calls from health plans that were struggling to close the diabetic eye exam gap through those downstream point of care channels. And they approached us with an opportunity to provide an in-home service where we would mobilize a field workforce, manage a population, provide all the outreach services to dispatch to engage and dispatch our field workforce into the members' homes and carry out not only the diabetic eye exam, but as Jen mentioned, kits, which are A1Cs, colon cancer, and kidney health. I think what we're seeing is a broader transition or a shift away from the doctor's office being the sole place where members can obtain care. And we're seeing a shift towards home care. We're seeing an aging population. We're seeing increased incidence rates of chronic diseases like diabetes. You have, in many cases, an immobile population that are homebound that cannot travel to a doctor's office. And in many cases, especially in West Virginia and in Tennessee, it's a highly rural population. So access to care for them is highly problematic, and that's a big part of what we deliver.
Yeah, the rural aspect is a clear opportunity, right? I mean, Jen, Brenda, I assume you both have significant rural populations, and is this, have you seen
Oh,
big
yes.
benefits there?
Yeah, definitely. As a matter of fact, when we look at social determinants of health, transportation issues comes up as number
Mhm.
one in our population. And secondary is financial insecurity. So
Mhm.
there's, you add them together, you can't get people to the doctor. And if you've got, an hour's drive to any kind of specialty services, it really makes it challenging. So that's why this was just such a great opportunity to support our diabetic members, that we could send the services to them. And plus then looking at expanding that and having it, the services provided in clinics as well.
Yeah,
More
and I
exposure.
could, Brenda, that's a good point. So we've partnered with the Health Plan of West Virginia to empower your network of primary care practices to perform those exams in the point of care, and the Health Plan has been very gracious in donating retinal cameras to these practices, and that's a program that I think is going to
Mhm.
bear a lot of fruit.
Yeah, definitely.
So as two nurses, I'm sure you're excited that HEDIS is coming back into its role as the heaviest weighted category in stars. Curious about these, and this is solving these HEDIS gaps, closing these HEDIS gaps in the member's home or in a mobile clinic or in the provider's office, like we've talked about. Um, um, such an important way, I think, to do it with also an impact on the member experience and member satisfaction to hopefully drive that up too, right? But are you guys seeing that? Are you thinking about that when you're launching initiatives like this, the impact on the member experience as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is an important avenue that we want to take advantage of, honestly. For it's an extension of us, right, as the health plan. And I charged Richard, and he was very willing to take on the challenge of how we can get that point of care survey opportunity, just to see how the whole experience is. And that's been valuable. It ties right into feedback to us internally as we track NPS. And I mean, we hear anecdotal, feedback a lot on everything from how much they liked the technician to
Mhm.
utilization of having that service, like to what Brenda mentioned, which she did very well. That it is very evident that one challenge or multiple challenges can easily prevent them from even pursuing, and meeting them where they are and bringing this into the home is just a huge win. So what Richard is doing through the exams and getting eyes on the patient, as they say, really creates some peace of mind, which we want to carry forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of the comments that they really make you smile when you read the
They
Yeah,
comments.
do.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, for instance, my
Yeah.
grandchild was sitting on my lap while they did the
Retinal eye exam.
exam.
Yeah.
Things like that just
Mm-hmm.
that when you talk about member experience, I mean, that's
Hmm.
just fantastic, right?
Right. It is, and
Some of the
and
things that
oh, go ahead, Mick. Sorry.
no, go ahead, Richard.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so just to highlight what Brenda and Jen were referring to. So we survey all the members we encounter in home very closely after the encounter, and we share that feedback with the health plan with full transparency. And I think the big takeaway is that members love the service. They're very appreciative of the fact that somebody reached out to them, scheduled an in-home visit, came to their home, and I think overall they show a high appreciation for the service that we provide, which I think in turn really drives the member experience for the plan. Yeah.
Yeah, I think seeing the impact, the ancillary impact that it's going to have on member experience is a significant thing. When from our side, what we're always looking at is how do we optimize star ratings, right? How do we get the scores up as high as we can possibly do it? And with some of the changes that Rex referred to earlier, QI, as Rex said, it's always been a high point on our radar, right? But it just got a lot higher because now it's going to impact every plan out there for the most part. Every plan that's not 5 stars has to be thinking about this now. And when you think about that in combination with the weight change that is putting HEDIS back on top, a lot of what we were trying to get out here is to let people understand how this is now a much bigger focus than it's probably been in recent years. And so being able to understand how you can maximize these scores across these handful of measures that we're talking about specifically today, but also how you can be a little bit more targeted in your approach to really go after the QI component on some of this. So being able to target those members and understand, when we're close to getting up to another QI, significant improvement threshold, something like that, this seems like something that we'd be able to turn on and execute to get over that hump. Is that a fair assessment, Jen, Brenda, from your experience?
I'll go first, I guess. Yes. I mean, we have found, year over year, a diversified approach for, particularly for these HEDIS measures. It's a game changer. And kind of what Rex was saying earlier, what keeps me up at night is I knew that we needed to sustain this type of service that we had done for a couple of years. And so what also keeps me up at night is the continual change in the stars lineup, and we always have to be improving and changing, right, to go into that calculation. I mean, it's just the name of the game. So the short answer is yes. How you do that, I think for us, we found kind of pouring in more viable data and utilizing retinal labs, like I was saying before, for multiple service points. Everything from subjective data to objective, right? What do their labs say, but also are they happy with us in this service? And that's going to lift caps, but it obviously, with the weight of HEDIS coming back into play and it's kind of balancing itself out, we know we have to focus on both still, right? Even though the weight's changing.
Yeah, and to echo that too, really pushing more collaboration with possibly, retina labs and primary care offices to get more services completed there. Many primary care offices may have laboratory services available, but if we can pull it together with an eye clinic day, or if they don't have lab services, I mean, plus we have the bone density screening that we can offer too. And that's definitely, that's a good service to provide our seniors as well.
Yeah, and I think the primary care practices really appreciate that as well. I mean, we've done a number of events in Tennessee. We've done some in West Virginia and Ohio, and those screening events are very heavily attended, and they're very successful. So to be able to perform these exams in points of care practices, at health fair events, and in home really covers the spectrum from A to Z.
Right.
So, Brenda and Jen, in that, so following up on that, so with all these different methods, right, that you're approaching these, like diabetic eye exam, using that one as the example, but whether it's in the home or a mobile clinic or in the provider's office or just a meld, well, not meld for diabetic eye exam, but for at least those three multiple ways to reach the member, are you seeing, again, back to the need of continual improvement? And Jen, I know you're a 5-star plan, right? So I know, driving continuous improvement gets harder and harder, right? When you are,
Oh yeah.
when you guys are performing that highly. But are you seeing maybe historically non-compliant members in the diabetic eye exam measure becoming compliant because of the multiple ways that we're able to, reach these members with something like this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know it has to be part of the lift to get us to 5 stars, and it's not just overnight, right? This is a multi-year building relationship. I mean, even for example, with retinal labs, we found that our members specifically request certain technicians. I mean, that I've heard that several times, and so that's that relationship element. I feel like, is that the key? But to your mention, Rex, I think it gets us there. And for sure it's the long game, and just what can we do to give them that decision point that they're going to say yes, to take care of themselves. Yeah.
To
Yeah,
meet them where
especially
they are, right?
right. And to start during COVID, I mean, our numbers for so many services dropped during the public health emergency. And, we were very pleased to gain a 0.5 star both years, the last 2 years. So, and our approach has really been just looking at the data, drilling into it. I've got a great team of analysts who are always answering my questions for me, like, what about this and what about that? And really just trying to see where there are patterns that we really need to improve upon, patterns of care. Yeah.
Yeah, Brenda brought up an excellent point, and I know this would be a whole other episode, but just
Mhm.
the landscape of health equity and how we need to dive further into that, because obviously that's going to come into the calculation. So one point of note with Retina Labs that we've done for the beginning is zip code identifiers on our members, passing that across and wanting that reporting back. And I know that's valuable for Richard's side, just with scheduling of technicians, and we use that heavily for events. When we analyze data and look at density of gaps, what's the sweet spot of getting a member to drive 30 minutes, an hour, to an event that Retina Labs would be at, for example. So for health equity, we know that we've really got to pay attention to that for how our state is laid out and the diversity there. That's where we see a focus for us when it comes to that landscape moving forward.
And an especially big focus for you guys being 5 stars and rewarding or relying on some reward factor bonus to get there, right? I mean, so health equity is going to have to come in and help support that.
Absolutely. You're spot on, right, Mick.
Yes, definitely thinking about additional ways we can bring more to the members and keep them, experience positive and get the services performed.
Yeah.
Right. Anything we didn't cover that?
I think I guess one of the things is, home care has been around for a very long time. Doing it at scale is an entirely different matter. It's a logistically challenging business to, perform the outreach, to schedule in a manner that's efficient and reduces costs. That's of course, are passed on to the health plan. So we knew from the outset when we got into the in-home business that we'd need to build a platform that would allow us to do this, and this is our Comply Hub system. So it allows us to do the targeting in a highly, highly efficient manner. The member targeting, and of course the ensuing home visits, which allows us to complete those exams, the most amount of exams in the least amount of time. But I think that the big thing for the health plan is that they have complete visibility into this. So Jen was talking about data, but they don't have to wait until the downstream claim activity has occurred for them to see what the results are. They could log in real time and see all of the the outreach and the screenings that we've performed well ahead of how they would traditionally be able to see that information. I guess Jen, Brenda, has that been useful on your end, being able to see this in real time?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Having that opportunity to actually see the results of the exams, and we can integrate it into our care management programs. Often members with diabetes are in a chronic disease management program, and we can upload that result, send a notification to the nurse to schedule the appointment if the findings are evident of disease. They can help coordinate the visit to the ophthalmologist, as well as following up to make sure it actually occurred. Exactly. So there's a lot of touches there that occur as a result of this. And the same thing with all the other services. If it's an A1C that's abnormal, or a colorectal cancer screening that's abnormal, we upload that information and forward it to our nurses, and we follow up to make sure they are following up with their primary care. And that was important when we talked with our physician advisory committee. They wanted to make sure that they were in the loop. They, we still want to be part of this care plan. So it seems to be working well.
And great job of keeping all of them in the loop. And I mean, coordination is so important, right? Care coordination. So
right.
Well, great. Well, hey, thanks so much for your input today, for being on the show. We appreciate it greatly, and great conversation. And keep up the innovative work.
Great.
And my dogs are going crazy just on cue. So.
Perfect.
All right.
Well,
Thanks
thank
so
you.
much, guys.